Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and welcome to PlayLoad. This is all my video game pickups for the month of December 2022. Last video of the year, last PlayLoad of the year, and wow, the year is already over. Wow. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you guys could do me a favor though, please like this video, comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't done that already, as well as follow me on all the social media stuff. In the description, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon. I appreciate the follows on all those places. And you can also check out my new channel called Flying and Eating, or Adam Eats the World, which is a travel channel in which I go to different places around the country or around the world. And, you know, like Japan, for example, go there, make a bunch of restaurant recommendations, pick up a bunch of video games, see some sites, all that sort of stuff. And if you're ever interested in traveling to these places, you have some pro tips on what to do. So hopefully you guys enjoy that and support that. Thank you very much. Now, let's talk video game pickups. So the first thing we got here, we already did an entire video on this, but this is the Brawler 64 wireless gamepad by Retro Fighters. This is specifically designed for the Nintendo Switch, and even more specifically for the Nintendo Switch Online mode, which is like for the N64 support. Again, did an entire video on it, but it's a good controller. You can go check that out. We've got 3 different colors here. Very nice. So I'll put a link in the description to this via Retro Fighters. You can also pick it up at Castlemania Games. Again, there will be a link in the description to that if you want to check it out. But I would actually recommend just going off and watching the video first. Second up, we also got another thing I did an entire video on. This is the PhotoFast 4K Gamer Pro. It's a device similar to the M Classic. It's an HDMI post-processor that you put onto a console, in this case specifically the Nintendo Switch, that does 4K upscaling as well as, you know, other little benefits, visual enhancement, etc., usually in the form of sharpening, color correction, etc. Again, did a whole video on this. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but shout out to the people at PhotoFast for hooking me up with that. I really appreciate it. And again, videos on it. Go check it out. It's neat. Now, let's talk about stuff you guys haven't seen already. We have some spillover from last month. So last month in November, obviously there was Black Friday. And I had ordered a few things that just didn't get here in time, so here they are now. And that would be primarily Xbox Series X games. And even better, just for me, for the travel side of me, you know, the one who does that other channel, you know, I stick to United Airlines. It's the only airline I will fly. And they had a nice little deal where if you bought stuff via Best Buy, rather than getting an additional $1 per mile, you got $7, or 7 miles per dollar. Sorry, other way around. So, you know, you can use miles for free flights. See, that other channel's got, if you like to travel, man, I got a lot of advice over there. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. These are the games I ended up picking up. We got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga collection. Obviously, this is a re-release of a bunch of Konami stuff from, you know, earliest, from that era, from the 80s and the 90s. I've played a lot of these in their original form. What's weird is that the box doesn't actually sit there and say, like, every single release that's on it. And I don't remember which ones are off the top of my head. But there's a lot of good games on there. And obviously they timed this with the release of Shredder's Revenge because everybody was just kind of suddenly in the mood to play Ninja Turtles games again. So it made a lot of sense. I'm just glad that Konami actually did this and that Nickelodeon allowed it. And this all because Nickelodeon now owns Ninja Turtles as an IP. So I'm glad this got made, this got released, and a whole new generation can play these really great games all over again. So very cool to have that. Speaking of the Ninja Turtles and fighting games, another one I picked up is a game I've seen before, but I'd never picked it up and had no idea this version existed, and I thought, now's the time. This is Nickelodeon's AllStars Brawl. This is basically Nickelodeon's version of like a Super Smash Brothers type of game. But what's cool about this is it actually has the Ninja Turtles in it, as well as a whole bunch of other Nickelodeon characters. It's got SpongeBob SquarePants characters, Invader Zim, there's Cat Dog, the Wild Thornberries, Real Monsters, Ren and Stimpy, Hey Arnold characters, Rugrats characters, Rocko's Modern Life characters, and oddly enough, Garfield. I didn't know Garfield was owned by Nickelodeon now. Whatever. Anyway, so this version of the game actually is like what, well, they call it the Ultimate Edition. I guess we would think of it as the Definitive Edition, where it has like all the patches and stuff. At least I think all the patches are built onto the disc, but it also has all the DLC. All additional DLC characters, stages, costumes, voice acting, and items is all built right into this version. Unless, of course, I open it and find out it's all in the form of a digital code or something, but I hear a disc, but whether or not it's just the standard disc plus a code key thing, I don't know off the top of my head because I haven't opened it yet. But either way, it's all there in this package bundle, which was on sale. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out. I have actually heard this is a surprisingly good game. It's just a lot of people are like, Nickelodeon. Whereas I don't know why something like Smash Bros., which is basically other children's characters, we're all like, oh yeah, but then we look at this and we're like, ew. So I don't know. But either way, I picked it up. The next one up that I got was the Atari 50th Anniversary Collection. I was actually originally going to completely pass on this. Like, I actually kind of didn't care. And that's funny because I even tweeted about Atari stuff at one point, and Atari themselves, the account that runs this game, even responded to it. So I was like, oh, yeah, you would think there'd be something to this. But no, I looked at this originally, and I have to stress this originally. I was like, I don't need another re-release of a bunch of Atari 2600 games. I've seen this 1,000 times. What changed my mind was this isn't just the usual Atari 2600 games. It has Atari 2600 games, obviously, but it also has 5200, it has 7800, it has 800, arcade, Lynx, and Jaguar. Or Jaguar, to our British friends. It has it has games from like every platform they ever did, for the most part. And it's just like, huh, that's cool. I kind of defend the Jaguar. I know people love to make fun of it. Usually people who have never played it or never tried it, they just get their opinions from other YouTubers and stuff, which I guess I'm sort of guilty of. But I think it was a better console than people give it credit for. Nobody's saying it's great, don't get me wrong, but like, it was a better console than people remember it as. I have the system, I have the CD unit, I have the game drive. Like, I could play the games, but I like the idea that I can play them in a more modern format if I want to. And I had talked to some of my other YouTuber buddies who are a little older than me, like John Hancock and Brett Weiss, and they all said, like, yeah, this is a pretty good collection. Like, it's actually pretty well done. So I thought, okay, game's on sale, I'm going to get my miles, etc. So I went ahead and I picked it up. So there you go. Now, next up, I went to a convention. I went down to Kansas City for Kansas City Retro. It'd be my third time at that convention, and shout out to my buddy Nate, the guy who runs the convention, because he brought me down there once again as a guest, which was very nice of him to do. First thing up that I got from him was actually a t-shirt, you know, so he had these printed up for the show. People could buy them, but as a guest, he just kind of gave me one, so that was nice of him to do. He didn't have to do that, but there you go. Nice little t-shirt featuring an NES cartridge. I actually wore this in the video in which I did the Brawler 64. But that said, I also picked up some games, of course. And I actually got a little promo item I'm going to show you first. One of the first things I got was this. This is a Shenmue 3 and I guess Neverwinter Knights promo standee. This was actually featured at GameStop back in the day. And what happened is if you went into a GameStop, they would have these usually when you just entered. If you entered right in there, sometimes a GameStop will have those metal detector security things that are just kind of trying to stop people from stealing. GameStop realized they could stick advertisements on those, hence this shape. So this is actually meant to mount into the top, and then it would advertise, games on your way in and on your way out, because they would just have two of the same one facing each direction. And the only reason I'm so sure that was the way it worked is, funny enough, I was at a GameStop in Guam a few years ago, and that's how I first saw this thing. It was just sitting there, they had two of them. That was exactly how it was set up, so I know exactly where it came from. This was actually donated to me at the convention by a guy named Shane, who is on the Video Game Dads podcast, run along with my buddy Ben and my buddy Adam, another fellow Adam, that run that together. So, yeah, Shane just walked up to me. He's like, yo, man, here, I got this for you. So, thank you, Shane. You did not have to do that, but I appreciate it very much. I love me some Shenmue. Now, I also did get some games, and the first thing up here I actually got was some original Xbox games. I didn't actually do a whole lot of shopping at the con, now that I'm bringing the Sega Pluto to stuff, I'm always kind of married to a table, so I can't get away all that much to go shop at stuff because you can't leave a prototype console there by itself. So you have to have people watch it for you and then whatever. So I didn't get all that many games, but I still got some stuff. And first up was some original Xbox titles. Now, just as a reminder, my goal with the original Xbox is I want a complete set, globally. I have all the European exclusives, I have all the Japanese, and other Asian exclusives. I've got them all. The North American stuff is where I'm still very much lacking. I kind of just chip away at it at cons, and that's about it. And that's nice. But by the way, if you missed it, I did a complete Wii U collection video. It was 2 hours long. It's the only time I've ever done a video like that, where you just sit down, talk a little history of the system, and then just go one by one through every single game on the system. Response to that was mostly positive. There were some people who got mad at me for, I guess, owning games. I don't know. But I guess they would prefer. There were some comments that just made me laugh. It was people people who are like mad at me for like owning Just Dance and never having played it before. It's like, sorry, man. Would you have preferred it went in the trash? Is that what you want? I guess that's what you want. Okay. Anyway, so that is funny to me. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Now, again, that goal still exists with the original Xbox, and we're chipping away at it. So we got 4 more off the list. First one up here, it's kind of unintentional. I guess we're sticking with the Nickelodeon theme. Again, not intentional. The Fairly Odd Parents Breaking the Rules. I won't lie, I barely remember the show, much less the game. Like, this came out as a show kind of in like the very tail end of my childhood. So like, I don't really remember much about it. I mean, I know the premise and all that, but like, yeah, it was never really my show. But not bad. Then we got Crash Tag Team Racing. Back when Crash Bandicoot was going through an identity crisis, where he was just they were just kind of putting him in everything, giving him games and just kind of hoping that something would stick. This is when he was back with Vivendi Universal, and at the time Sierra as well. So, yep, they got that. Now he's completely lock, stock, and barrel over at Activision. And then, it's much less exciting. I guess I shouldn't have led with those. We got a couple of sports games that I don't really want, but you have to admit that just get them to check mark off the list. We've got MVP Baseball 2005, and we've got NHL 06. This one actually still has the official like NHL hockey sticker on it, so ooh. And then we got a couple of other games here. We'll start here. I'm gonna move that slightly. So one of my regulars in my Discord, which by the way, again, I have a Discord. It's awesome. The link in the description. A lot of people hang out in there. We meet up at different conventions in different places all the time. It's a lot of fun. One of my regulars in there is a guy named Zesty. And he was selling a whole bunch of stuff at the con, and he was kind of just getting rid of his entire PS5 collection. And he had bought the console at some point, wasn't a big fan of it. He'd only played like a couple of games, but he had a bunch, and they were all sealed, and he was like, I just don't want any of this stuff. So he was just in full purge mode. So he was selling games, and I was like, all right, man, if you're willing to sell for these prices, I'm gonna bite. So we got Sealed. Death Stranding Director's Cut. I even left the price tags on these. $20 for Death Stranding Director's Cut. Again, sealed. Deathloop, $10, sealed. And Godfall, $10, sealed. Now, obviously, I haven't played any of them yet. I left them sealed for the purposes of the video, but huge shout out to Zesty because that was a very good price on those, and he didn't have to do that. I mean, that's what he was asking. That wasn't even like a bro deal or anything. Like, I just straight up gave him the $40 that he was requesting. So, thank you very much to Zesty for doing that. I'm looking forward to checking those out. Next up, we got a donation. This was totally unexpected. If you guys saw, I did some videos going to Japan. Not only in the travel channel, but here. I did pickups videos, the Hard Off one, which was everybody's favorite, but also we got the, what was it? The Nakano Broadway, what was it? Mandarake / Suragaya video, and then we also had a little bit of spillover in last month's PlayLoad. But it's somewhere in there, I don't remember which one it was. I was talking about N64 games and like what my goal was. With the N64, I've never really pursued a complete collection. I wanted all of the European exclusives. I got them. There's only like 7, so it's really not that hard of a task. The Japanese stuff was a little more complicated. There's like 80 of them. I've been missing like 3 or 4. And then the American stuff, once again, like the Xbox, I'm not even close. There's a whole bunch. And I'm not really sure I'm going to pursue it, but whatever. With the Japanese ones, like I said, I was down to like 3 or 4. And while I've seen a couple of them, they're usually very expensive. Things like the Bangai-O conversion. There is this game called Mario no Photopie that I've never even seen, which was like a really weird Mario game that only Japan got. Some stuff like that. But there was one that, when you look online, is not a particularly expensive game, but I've just never seen it, except for once. It was behind glass. It was like a couple $100, and I was like, that's not right. Like, that's not normal. Like, even on eBay, I could get it for like 1/4 of that. So I never bothered. I kept thinking, I will find this at some point in Japan for a reasonable price. And we'll just leave it at that. To this day, that never happened. But I'm at Kansas City Retro, and one of our buddies, again, a guy in the Discord who goes by, his name is Maynard, but he goes by the name Maymay. I think Maymay the Nard. Anyway, so he comes by, and he was actually on Pluto duty. He was guarding it for a while. But at one point, he just said, oh, by the way, I got you a birthday gift, and he handed me this. This is Bass Rush Fishing, a Japanese exclusive Nintendo 64 game. This is the game I was just talking about. I guess you probably predicted that. But yeah, this is, I've never, other than the one time I saw it behind glass for like hundreds of dollars, I've never actually seen it in Japan before. It's not a particularly good game, to be told that. It's just a mediocre fishing game. There actually is even a Dreamcast version of this, which I do have, but the N64 version is surprisingly uncommon. But you go on eBay, they are sitting there, and they're like $50 on average. So I guess he bought a couple copies from some other source. I don't remember what he said exactly, but he had bought a couple, and he just hooked me up with one for my birthday. My birthday was this month, and that was very nice of him to do. I thank you. You didn't have to do that, but cool. Now we knocked one more off the list. So I'm only like, I want to say like, I think there's only 2 now that I'm missing for the N64 in Japan. I think, off the top of my head. But yeah, thank you very much to Maynard for that. And then we have my by far stupidest purchase, because this was expensive. I probably shouldn't have done this, but I bought this from Nate, the guy who was running the convention. Like, Nate was kind of struggling with this con, and I wanted to help him out. And, you know, he had brought me down there. He'd been paying for everything. He even gave me a birthday gift, which we'll get to in a second. Actually, let's just talk about his birthday gift first. He actually gave me this just out of nowhere. This is the Sega IR7000 Commander. There's actually videos online of this thing. This is like a weird little personal communication device that Sega put out in the 90s that is totally pointless now. I mean, you could kind of think of it as a very early like smartphone, except it didn't have like, you know, talking. It was just like early texting type of thing. And if somebody, the idea being if somebody else had one, you guys could text, etc. But with like line of sight communication, you know, it was the 90s. Funny enough, this thing was actually only made by Sega here. It was made by Casio in Japan, where it was actually, I'm sure Casio actually made these and Sega just distributed them here. But still, it's an interesting little piece of Sega hardware, technically. And I guess he bought this at Mo Game Con like earlier in 2022 and then held on to it for whatever reason. I don't know, but when I was at Kansas City Retro, he said he found this and he was giving it to me for my birthday. So thank you very much for doing that. So as the con's wrapping up, the dude had given me this shirt, he had given me this, he had brought me down there, I think he even paid for food at some point. I just kind of felt like I should pay it forward a little bit. And he was trying to sell some stuff. And so he had a game I wanted. It's kind of expensive, but at the same time I look at it like, well, I'm not just getting this game, I'm getting all of this, so I wanted to help him out. Ribbit King for the GameCube, one of the rarer titles. You know, this is a GameCube. If we're talking collection goals again, I don't need a full set. That's never been a goal of mine. I want every game on it that was never released on the original Xbox, because once you remove those, the set becomes vastly more reasonable. Most of which I have, but there's still a good chunk I don't. And unfortunately, from that good chunk I don't, you are missing a bunch of the heavy hitters. So this is one of those heavy hitters. This is one of those things where every once in a while, you just have to bite the bullet and be like, I'm probably never going to find this cheaper. Let's just do it, be done with it, and move on. And now I have Ribbit King. I ripped the disc. It's all good. Everything on it is solid. Has both discs, actually. It has the game disc as well as the bonus disc. It's complete, you know, good time. And so, yeah, that was a nice package deal there is the way I saw it. But hopefully that helped Nate out, too. So, Ribbit King. Got a nice GameCube title. Now, let's move on to package time. We got several packages here. The first one up comes from, well, actually, to be honest, I don't remember what their name is, but we'll find out as soon as we open the box. This was a company that had reached out to me and basically said, like, they basically told me, like, we have this thing, you might like it, do you want to check it out? And I said, yeah, all right, if you want to send me that. So, wow, this is bigger than I expected. So, here we go. That is fancy. Oh yeah, all right, so the company that made this is a company called Char Geek, kind of like the word shark. I did not expect this to be this big. The first thing that's in there is this like little, it looks like an old Apple computer, but this is just packing material, which is meant to make the package look like that. That's kind of neat, even though this doesn't seem to, maybe this has got, no, this thing is completely sealed up. It doesn't seem to have any sort of purpose other than just the pretties. But I also can't read, I think that's Mandarin. I can't read that, so I don't know what that says. But we got a few different things in this box. We got one first layer. Let's see what's in this, if anything. I did not expect this to have this much stuff. Let's see. Does this open? Does this do anything? Right, here we go. Okay. All right. Well, is that the whole thing? Right there? Okay, that might be. So we have this little, we'll open these things up and then we'll get to it. So that's cool. I wasn't expecting this to be multi-layered like this. Each one, wow, there's multiples in here. I thought it was just going to be one. That's interesting. I was not expecting it to be multiples. I know that'll make more sense in a second. This looks like an adapter, not something I missed. Okay, yeah, that's an adapter. And then we have, at the bottom here, we have a couple of cables, it looks like. Okay, this one is a USB-C to iPhone cable, which I don't own an iPhone, so we won't necessarily need that. But this one is C to C. That's more useful for me. That's surprisingly adorable packaging. I'll give them props for that. So this is the Char Geek Retro 67. Let me put this off to the side here. The Char Geek Retro 67. So I didn't realize there was going to be two of them. That's interesting. So basically what this is in short, this is like, you know, your phone. You have a power brick for your phone. And in my case, like Google Pixel 6, it comes with a single USB-C to C cable and a power brick. Actually, it didn't even come with it. I had to get one separately. But you can plug the USB-C cable into the power brick and you charge your phone, right? This is that, but way fancier. So it comes with this. This is the primary unit. It's, you know, standard American style power supply. But it has 3 charging ports on it. And it has this little screen on it that actually tells you the wattage out. I believe it supports up to 67 watts, hence the name, Retro 67. But this little screen will actually illuminate and tell you how much power it's giving out. So it can actually power 3 things at once. Let me just take this little plastic wrap off here, if I can, relatively easily. This thing is surprising. If you're, I mean, I'm not an Apple guy, but if you are, this is kind of adorable. We got max 67 wattage, so it can support USB-C with 3 different ports all at once, and we'll tell you the wattage there. This is where I'm a little surprised. I didn't realize it was going to come with 2 of these. So the second one looks like it's just a single 35-watt USB-C charger, and it does have a screen as well. It doesn't look. Looks like just kind of chibi. I don't know if that's actually meant to be functional or not, but I'll take a look at it real quick and find out. Oh, wait, I see what it is. This one is specifically for the iPhone. Okay, that makes sense. No, I'm wrong. Never mind. This is also USB-C to C. Yeah, so I guess that's a bonus. I thought they were just sending this thing by itself. But they also just sent an extra little bonus one that just, this is what I have at the end of my phone, is a single USB-C to single port charger. Now it's 3-port charger, but of course this doesn't just work on your phone, this will work on laptops, etc. So where this really is helpful to me, and the reason I was kind of interested in it, to be completely honest, is because of the portability and the fact that I travel so much. Basically, I hate bringing a bunch of bulky stuff necessary to charge these things, especially in other countries. This will narrow that down substantially, especially because they included all the adapters to make it work in different ecosystems. So this would be like European mainland, this would be like Australia, and I believe Singapore uses this as well. And then this style would be the UK and Ireland specifically. So they basically just included all the pieces I need to be able to charge the vast majority of my electronics in other countries. Thank you. Thank you to the people at Char Geek for making my life easier. I appreciate that. So, yeah, that's very nice of them to do. Yeah, AU, it says, see, I've been in Australia. I know what that looks like. So, yeah, I think that's really cool. So thank you to the guys at Char Geek. Seriously, that was really cool of you to do. I will probably make that a permanent fixture. If not a permanent fixture, at least a permanent transportation device that I can use in other countries. Or just frankly, when I travel in general. So thank you to Char Geek. If you guys are interested in that, I'll put a link in the description. You can check it out. I guess that was like some sort of Indiegogo project originally. I would be honest, I didn't know much about it up front. They just kind of said like, hey, we got a thing. You want to check it out? Yes. I look forward to actually trying it. Now, let's move on. We got our next package up here. This comes from Lodmot, who is a guy in my Discord. Canonically, within the server lore, he's the wealthiest known individual in the universe. He's the guy, if you guys remember back a little bit, he sent me an 8-track player, and he sent me an 8-track custom, like, Shenmue. Like, he did the entire score of Shenmue 1 and put it on an 8-track. You know, they know they don't like Shenmue, but he just kind of randomly sent me this, and he wouldn't tell me what it was, so I have no idea. So let's find out right now, if we can here. Cut through this paper. I'm kind of hoping, knowing Lodmot, that it's just like an entire. Originally I thought it might just be bars of gold, but it's not heavy enough, so maybe it's just like stacks and stacks of cash, because I could use that. All right, away with that. And it is a box. There might be lots and lots of cash in here. Or Monopoly money, who knows? Oh, it's a gift that is wrapped underneath all of that. It looks like he custom made, he made custom wrapping paper, which has my face on it, which is going to be hard to show you guys because I can't open it without destroying it. But I will try. Yeah, this is like literally multiple pictures of me and other random things. This is what rich people do. They have time to do this kind of thing. So thank you to Lodmot for being rich, I guess. Yeah, I have to destroy my own face to get into this. I'm sorry, you probably won't get a close-up of that. Or at least if you do, it's going to have been like kind of mutated. But here we go. There's not much else I can do. Underneath, it looks like a Genesis game. Or at least it's a Genesis case. It is. Let me try to salvage some of that. Mike Yeldy 95. This is a Genesis cartridge called Mike Yeldy 95. Thank you for purchasing Mike Yeldy 95. Music, graphics, and programming by Michael Elder. I don't know what this is. It's a Sega Genesis game of some. It's clearly homemade. This is a fan-made game. This is not an original. Even though it says official Sega seal of quality, it is not an official Sega seal of quality product. I don't know what this is supposed to be. It looks like he basically converted Windows 95 to the Sega Genesis, because based on the back of the thumbnails, over 20 original Mike LD songs, desktop user interface and start menu application launcher, 5 mini games. You've got 3D Maze, Ambulance, Flappy Mike, Hacky Sack, and Reflex. 7 visualizers including bouncing cards and flying toasters. ME-DOS mode featuring 8-bit PSG chip bonus tracks. Customize your experience with selectable desktop wallpapers and color palettes. Interactive internet and email inbox simulator. This basically looks like somebody decided to try and port Windows 95 to the Sega Genesis and apparently succeeded. That epitomizes Lodmot. You have the money and the interest in funding an effort to get Windows 95 on the Sega Genesis. Thank you, Lodmot, for doing that. I'm confused by your motives, but thank you all the same. So let's move on to the next thing. I don't know what else to even say about that. I was completely unaware of this thing's existence, so it's hard to comment beyond that. We got a package here from France. We won't talk too much about this just because I intend, if this is exactly what I think it is, and I'm pretty sure it is, then this is going to get its own video. In fact, it'll probably get multiple videos if it truly is the thing I think it is. Yes, it is. Ooh, there it is. So this comes from Pixel Heart. They are a European, specifically French, Dreamcast publisher. Well, not just Dreamcast, but that gives it away. They publish a bunch of indie titles and stuff. They have their own website. I'll put a link in the description. They have a whole bunch of things. This is the Astroport Collector, although that should probably be Collection, for the Sega Dreamcast by Josh Prod. What's interesting about this, as far as I can tell, so this is 4 games all in a bundle set. A very nice, good-looking set. I'm not going to open here. We'll save it for its own video. But it consists of 4 games, 2 of which I've done videos on, Wolf Flame and Sata Zeus Next. The other 2 have never had Dreamcast releases in any other form. You've got Gigantic Army, and you've got Zangeki Warp. So, what you guys can expect in January is videos on Gigantic Army and Zangeki Warp. So stay tuned for that. So thank you very much to Pixel Heart for sending this my way. Only 2,000 copies of this were produced, and I know that they're mostly sold out at this point, but I'll put a link in the description if you want to check them out. Because again, as of now, this is the only way to get 2 of the indie releases, is literally just this bundle set. So very cool. Nice as always to have a new Josh Prod release. And Josh Prod, man, just like way to slide it right in there at the end of the year, getting out 2 brand new Dreamcast games that weren't even announced. Good for you, dude. You know what you're doing. But anyway, there you go. Thank you for that. That was sent to, if I wasn't clear on that. They sent me that for free for the purposes of review, so stay tuned for that. The last thing up here is something I bought, okay? And it's not a video game thing, but it is about this channel and about a whole bunch of other channels, and I thought it was kind of cool, to say the least. So let me open it up and we will talk a little bit about it. I think a lot of you guys are going to get a kick out of this. Yes, there we go. Okay, put the tube away. So what is this poster? Before I actually show it to you, let's talk a little bit about it. This poster was created by Scott the Woz, who I'm sure a lot of you guys know, as Scott the Woz is one of the most popular YouTubers to ever exist. The funniest thing about Scott the Woz is that I have met him a few times. The first time I ever met him, I had no idea who he was. I was at Too Many Games, which is a convention in Philadelphia. I believe it was back in 2019. I was a guest there, and so was Scott. Now, Scott was already big, but he wasn't like what he is now. And at one point, I'm sitting there at the Screenwave booth, hanging with people like Shane, Rerez TV, Jay from the Game Chasers, a bunch of us. We're all just kind of hanging around there. And Scott comes up and starts talking to us. Now, again, I didn't know who he was, but he was talking to us and saying things like, man, I grew up watching you and stuff. Yeah, I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but I've heard that a few times. It just makes me feel really, really old. Then after we take photos and move on, whatever, Shane, Rerez, is like, do you have any idea who you were just talking to? And I was like, no. He's like, then he explains who Scott the Woz is. And I was like, oh, wow. So we hung out with Scott a few more times and whatever. Anyway, so Scott and I have been in contact a few times over the years. I've actually been in at least one of his videos. And, very nice guy, very cool, substantially younger than me. Like, when I started this channel, he was probably, like, in diapers. I mean, like, he's a much younger guy. But anyway, so he reached out to me, as well as a whole bunch of other YouTubers that I guess he really liked or had watched as a child. I'm not really sure exactly how he made his selection. But he reached out to us being like, hey, we're working on this poster for charity, and I want to know if it's okay to use your likeness on it. And I was like, absolutely. And so they went ahead and actually produced it, and I went ahead and I bought one. And I think you can still get these. And Scott referred to this as the gang all being here. How long does it take to see if you can find me? Anybody? Anybody? All right. I'm right there. I got prime real estate right behind Scott. So there's Scott, there's me, which is pretty cool. There's a whole lot of people on this. There's a lot of people, because I tweeted about this and I was just showing it to people online. There was a lot of people being like, where is such and such YouTuber, etc. I didn't make the decision as to who was on there or why, we were on there. All I know is that Scott, I know, watches me because he straight told me to my face that he grew up watching me. So that, once I realized who he was, I was like, that was one of those like, oh, that's why I have gray hairs moments. But yeah, very cool to be part of this. And I'm thinking, I know it's been a staple for years. This poster behind me of Beer and Board Games with me right there in the middle. That was back before I was even rocking the beard. That's how old that one is. I'm thinking maybe it's time to replace it and put this one up. I want you guys to tell me, because this affects you just as much as it affects me. Like, I live here. I got to see this every day. But you guys watch these videos, and I want to know what you think about replacing that poster with this one. With me in there, along with a bunch of other YouTubers you probably know. I'm just curious. So, yeah, I would appreciate your feedback. And huge shout out, not that he'll ever watch this. Maybe he does. I have no idea if he still watches me or not. We occasionally communicate on, DMs and stuff and Twitter, but I don't really, I have no idea. He's never commented on a video that I'm aware of anyway. But Scott, if you're watching, thank you very much for having me involved in that. And thank you guys very much for watching this video. A huge shout out to not only Scott for that, shout out to Shane for hooking me up with this. Shout out to Pixelheart for this. Thank you to Char Geek for hooking me up with that. Lodmont for your Lodmotness, for lack of a better way of putting it. Thank you to Nate. Thank you to Maynard. Thank you to Zesty. Thank you to Retro Fighters, and of course, thank you to PhotoFast for this as well. And thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Please like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on all the social media stuff in the description: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, as well as the new travel channel, Flying and Eating. Links to all that stuff in the description. Thank you very much, and I'll see you all later. Happy New Year.